Hi, everybody. Time for Members Club Pod with your hosts, Charlie Arnold and Arynne Wexler. Here we
Hi,
are. This is week
everybody.
4, I think, right?
I think that's right. Around week
We're
4.
rounding out our first month. Listen,
Wow.
everybody, when we say week 4, people are like, oh, well, like, great, week 4. But actually, to start something and keep it going for a month is already like a first mini milestone. I'm proud of us.
I think it's longer than most relationships in this country at this point. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, dating is well, you and I both would know. I mean, we're out in these streets, and it is a
We're
travesty.
These streets are ghetto.
No, we
But
are
we'll
in the
talk about
streets.
dating another time.
We're in the best of streets that we possibly can be in, but we are in the streets. We're in them.
I have so many jokes of I love the jokes about like whatever in the streets, like X in the streets, Y in the sheets, but
Why
like
don't are you real? Are you filter? Since when do you filter what you say?
no, because the joke that I have on that is
Okay.
actually very Jewish specific that a lot of people
Oh,
might not understand. But there are
can we
two.
say it?
We could say, yeah, but people might know if you're listening to this, there are a few categories of different types of Jews from the diaspora, because obviously we're all from Israel
Yes.
originally. But Ashkenazi is what you would know in America as the Eastern European Jew. And then you have Sephardi or Mizrahi, which is like the Arab, Hispanic Jew, depending on where you're from. And so the phrase I know is Ashkenazi in the streets, Sephardi in the sheets.
I actually love that so much.
I
I'm
like how I tried to
Ashkenazi.
make it a math problem. I'm like, X in the streets, Y in
No,
the
it's great.
sheets.
I love it. And
Solve for X and Y.
in fact, everybody, you might be interested to know that when I did my ancestry.com test several years back, so I can no longer commit a crime because they have all of my DNA. I don't think any of us could commit a crime regardless. The amount of information the government has on us in every capacity is wild. Like I'm getting off tangent now, but even going through the airports, which actually this could be a good segue, but so let's save that part. And I'm going to go back to my other part is that I did the ancestry.com test and I found out that I'm almost 30% Ashkenazi Jew. And I was like, hell yes, because Arynne, growing up, I was an honorary member of the Jew crew. This was
I could
my
see
group of
this.
friends in high school. They were all Jewish, except for my very best friend at the time, who was Christian, but she actually since has converted to Judaism and is now married to a Jewish man. So she always felt the vibe. I obviously, being surrounded, you just have it inside of you. It's like a spirit.
Yes. We say there's a cultural memory from all the trauma.
Honestly, maybe.
Yeah.
And I always felt just like a fascination with the Jewish culture. I've always loved World War II history.
Not our best time.
No, not the
But
best time, but it's
not our
I
best
just
time.
have this I went to Auschwitz when I was in
Yeah.
Poland a couple years ago. Like,
Well,
I feel like I've done more than most Jews in this country, like doing, my research and showing my appreciation and support for our ancestors. So anyways, I was raised Catholic, but I also am Jewish. So I feel like I have the best of both worlds. I feel very good about myself, Arynne.
that's beautiful, Charlie. I will say it doesn't help us. It doesn't help us with like the Mossad accusation. We needed one of us to not be accused, but that's okay. Also, I too went to Auschwitz once, and perhaps we were there at the same time. How romantic! But
Wait,
we'll move on.
what year were you there?
I was there in the summer, June of 2010.
Oh, hold on. I'm really hot and I'm getting sweaty maybe from our conversation. I need to turn the AC on. Hold on.
Oh God. I don't know if we'll have the editors edit that part out.
No, keep it. It's fine. What happens in Members Club
What happens
Pod?
in Members Club ends up in the Daily Mail.
And
As
we were in the Daily
know.
Mail.
We
How
were in the
awesome.
Daily Mail, yes, talking about the WNBA and how Angel Reese was on the cover of NBA 2K, which I honestly still don't know what that is. But quickly, Charlie, can you tell
You're-
everybody what you did this weekend? Because I loved tracking your
Oh,
location.
yes. Arynne and I share locations now, so we know where each other
Very
are
serious.
at every hour of the day and night, which
Every
is great
minute.
for not only safety purposes, but also just personal interest because I know Arynne's address. So if I see her not at her address at given points, I'm like, where is this
Where are
woman
we?
right now? What is going on? Shall I check in and interrupt potentially any types of activities, or should I let her be? I've let you be so far. This weekend, I was in New Orleans, which, oh, New Orleans, where do I begin? I was there for Power Slap, which like already is like an insane spectacle.
Can you explain power slap to people for a moment?
Yes. So Power Slap, it's under the UFC umbrella. It's actually Dana White's baby. He came up with he created it, it's his own concept. He took it from what was a worldwide phenomenon. I mean, mostly in countries like Russia, where these people would just no rules, no regulations, big dudes would like meet up in each other's garages or barns or like who knows where outdoors and just smack the shit out of each other. And like the longest standing power slap fight, because actually one of the guys who was in it, or both of them, I think, are in our promotion now, was 27 rounds. So imagine getting slapped by a massive dude 27 times in a row. But now there's, of course, regulations. There's a whole commission overseeing it. So, they try to put safety at the forefront as much as they possibly can. I mean, you're still standing there, not able to defend yourself except by like tensing up your muscles. You're getting slapped. But so we had Power Slap 14. So it was our 14th event. It was in New Orleans. On the front end of what was a UFC pay-per-view. And New Orleans is just, we were staying right on Bourbon Street.
Did you sleep?
No, of course I slept. What do you mean? I didn't even, I barely took part of anything that New Orleans had to offer, except for two double cheeseburger patty melts 2 nights in a row. I found this great spot around the corner and honestly, one of the best burgers I've ever had. So thank you, New Orleans, for that. It was called the Double Club, if anyone from New Orleans is listening. But on that same note, if anyone from New Orleans is listening, I'm sorry because I find New Orleans, let's just concentrate it to Bourbon Street because I don't want to say all of New Orleans. There's some very beautiful parts of New Orleans and like tremendous history and like the Creole culture is super cool, the French culture. But Bourbon Street is wild. I mean, I was watching people stumble down the street with their tall hurricane glasses, like the Jello shots and syringes that they were squirting into each other's mouths. I was alarmed. I was frightened. And that is why I mostly just got burgers delivered to the hotel and I was watching Stranger Things in bed.
I saw you barely moved locations when you were at the hotel and you were at the arena. I was like, Charlie's not. I'm like, I think she's like,
is Charlie okay? Should we do a wellness check?
No, like you like blockaded your door and you're like, I'm not leaving this hotel. I would say it sounded from your account like the streets of New Orleans are very much like the streets of dating and very ghetto. So
yes.
So I'm glad you made it back. You're back in New York City. I was in Florida for the weekend in Miami, and I actually went to the Florida Gun Show, which happens about once a quarter. Good times. The European mind simply cannot comprehend what we have at the gun show here. They cannot. The liberal city mind cannot comprehend.
I basically was at a gun show watching Stranger Things because they've got all types of guns in that show. So
Yeah.
I can attest to what you probably witnessed, and I'm proud.
We were basically in the same place this weekend is what we're saying.
So one of the things that I was about to mention when we were discussing my Ancestry.com results is that the government has all of your DNA, like all of your biometrics. Like there's no way to pull off a crime successfully anymore without somebody on your tail, unless like you did a really good cover-up job. But I'm not so sure I have that in me to like pull off something like that. So I'm just going to play it safe and not commit a crime. But one of the, I guess, strategies that the government now uses, which is to our benefit and also theirs, is they're able to do the biometric screenings at the airport. You don't even have to show your ID or boarding pass in some cases anymore because they literally just have you stand in front of the camera and they've got all of your info and they're like, okay, go right on through. So that was my segue into what is now very exciting news as it pertains to airports.
Yes.
Do you want to introduce the story?
Charlie, you're doing such a good job. Please continue.
Okay, well, I will then. Okay, so basically, everybody, we already had pretty exciting news as it pertained to airports recently, and that was we no longer have to, well, at least some airports, it's a slow roll, not everywhere yet. You don't have to take your shoes off anymore to go through TSA. And that's not just TSA pre-check. It's all of the TSA lines, which is fantastic because like sometimes you're not wearing socks and it gets a little grimy in the airport when you're just barefoot, like raw dogging it through TSA. Like not about that life.
Even when you have TSA pre, because sometimes your shoes set it off and then you have to take them off anyways.
And then what? Yeah.
And then what?
But now we have even more exciting information, and that is that Kristi Noem says carry-on liquids, the limit could be changed.
This is exactly what I voted for.
That is tremendous news because for females especially, ladies, you know there have been times when you've packed a perfume bottle that's a little too big or a bottle of lotion that they just decide to confiscate from you that you spent a good amount of money on, or maybe you just really needed it on the trip. Fear not, those things are now in the clear. Well, seemingly. I'm very excited about this. I'm happy that we're finally feeling more of a sense of normalcy in this country, Arynne. Like in so many different areas, it just feels like we can finally relax knowing we have intelligent and responsible leaders in charge who have our backs.
Yeah, well, that's exactly what it is.
It's like a new feeling.
No, it's amazing because in the 20 years since we had to take our shoes off and, you know, they would throw away countless shampoo bottles, face wash bottles, sunscreen, what have you, all the stuff they would throw away. How many people did they catch? Why did they do it for all this time? And it's a false sense of security, right? And what the Trump admin is saying is we're not doing things just for the show of it anymore. If it has a good reason, we'll do it. And if it doesn't, it's gone. This is silly. And I love to see this. But do you think we could take a moment? Can we just have a quick moment of silence to remember all the liquids that have been lost over the last 2 decades? If we could. All right. Thank you.
Should I pour a little bit of my Spindrift out for my dead homies?
I was once online at the airport and I forgot that I had my Camelback from a hike.
Of course you did. Full Yeti bottle of water with electrolytes from my recent hiking trip.
I was somewhere out west. I think I was in Washington State and I had gone to like Mount Rainier or something. And because I'm doing all the national parks for those who don't know.
These are words that will never come out of my mouth, but Arynne's like, this will be a common occurrence.
Charlie's an indoor cat. I'm a street cat.
I'm a 5-star resort girly.
Yeah. By the way, I'm like I'm a glamper. But
okay.
I forgot I had this Camelback and there for some reason was no sink and it was a tremendous amount of water that I couldn't just dump it into the Now I would. Now I would just dump it in the trash and be like, F you, TSA, for making me toss this water. But I was just online and I didn't want to leave the line because it was a very long airport line and I couldn't leave. So I just chugged the entire Camelback.
Oh my gosh.
Before
I hope you were in an aisle seat for that flight.
It was extremely hydrated. But going back to Kristi Noem, you know, this is exactly what we voted for. You close the border, wear your shoes, take that face wash with you. It reminded me of COVID when people just enjoyed the control aspect of looking at you, seeing that you were visibly not a threat, and tossing what was very clearly expensive skincare. You know, it felt rude. It felt like a target to women specifically. So this is one of the best things to ever happen to women, and no one on the left is even going to acknowledge it.
And, you know, looking at Kristi Noem, you can also tell she values her expensive face care products. I mean, she's always very well put together. Like, you know, the woman's suitcase is full of like all of the best of the best. So she was probably like, you know what? I'm done with this. We are done with this. I mean, but that's another important point to raise is I'm all for female leadership. You know, there's always people, oh, you just don't want to see a female be in charge. You don't want the right women in charge can move mountains. The wrong women in charge, sayonara.
Kristi Noem might deserve the Nobel Prize for this. I'm just putting it out there.
I'm okay with nominating her.
I would say this would get us the liberal women, except we know they don't take care of themselves, so they don't care about this. But the other thing I was spending a lot of time on this weekend, the continued fallout of the Coldplay couple. I know we don't want to talk about this too long because so I don't want to spend too much time on it because I feel like people really beat this dead horse over the weekend.
No, but they're still beating it. We're going to beat this forever. This is Arynne, this is finally something that has united the country in a way we have not seen the country unified in for a very long time. Like, I don't care what corner of the country you're from, and maybe even international, planetary. I don't know how many people are paying attention, but everybody is talking about the Coldplay couple and like the memes and the reactions. I mean, I've been heavily invested. You've seen my Instagram.
I think the last time the country was this united was on September 12th, right? Like, I can't remember the last time people were this united.
September 12th, Coldplay fallout.
Those are the bookends of the unity in this country, okay? But there is something that is actually kind of serious about this. And I think people understand this, but this hasn't really been articulated. And I'm going to take the fun out of it for 1 second, okay? Because I think cheating is the worst thing you could do to someone. This point has been made across social media, but why would you have a business partner, a friend? Why would you associate with somebody who's capable of doing this? I don't want us, right now, we're not going to get into this discussion that we can. I know we both want to cover this another time, which is micro cheating, which is super common now, where we live in a very funny age where, you know, if a guy's liking photos of another girl or like
throwing the flames on a photo, like reaction.
Yes. And I think when it comes to that stuff, it's like the Supreme Court definition of pornography, which is you can't define it, but you know it when you see it. And you know when something's wrong and you know when something's right. But this is blatant cheating. And what I think is so important about this moment is it's like a public karmic display of when you think you're never going to get caught and like you look at them and they're so smug and so happy together, and the way that changes in an instant. And what's so funny about everything is if they'd acted normal, no one was watching the Coldplay Jumbotron. Like their spouses would have never known.
But of course they couldn't have acted normal because
they know it's wrong.
Of course. And they weren't expecting to be shown to the entire stadium at that point in time. And listen, I'm sure, because I mean, the amount of times, Arynne, that I've watched this video over and over, and I've been just picking up tiny nuances and new details, I noticed the woman, the HR exec, the head of HR, which, by the way, that's also like ultra ironic, right? Of course, the head of HR is like breaking all of the handbook rules. She turns her back, you know, because the dude, former CEO, he just dips down. Like were those his hands that then went up in the air and were like doing the twinkle fingers, like spirit fingers? Was that him or was that someone
Twinkle
else?
Fingers? I'm not sure. I did see a tweet that said, you can't have a CEO that slithers like that.
Yeah.
He's like such a coward.
So former CEO, let's all like also emphasize for everybody.
Yes.
But the woman, she turns her back. But then you can see her saying something to her HR coworker, who clearly knew all the tea because she was there. Obviously, she's like the best friend of the HR manager, and you could see the HR woman like mouthing something to her, saying something, and she was kind of like, you could tell, like embarrassed. She probably was drinking. Like, oh my God, do you think anybody saw? Oh my God, I can't believe that happened. And then the other woman just starts like bursting out laughing because she's like, I don't know what to do. This is so awkward. I know everything. So yeah, the woman clearly was like caught off guard where she didn't even know how to react because she was like almost, it looked like she was maybe laughing a little bit about it because she was like so flabbergasted, I guess is the best way to describe.
Yeah, there are two different types of friends in this world. And one is the friend that is honest and holds you accountable. And the other lets you poison your soul. Okay. And that's what that girl is doing, right? Like if my friend were publicly, blatantly cheating on their spouse like that, we would be sitting them down to say, we wouldn't be like shunning them necessarily. I mean, I don't know. It depends on what they're doing, but we would be trying to help them actually lead the right life, right? Instead of going to the concert with them.
The answer is yes, right? You always want to try to give your friends the best guidance possible. But then again, friendship doesn't have like a black and white to it. Like if someone's making a bad decision, does that just mean you stop being friends with them? No. I mean, this friendship was also a little bit different because this woman that was sitting there, the woman cheating was her superior. So this woman's probably like chasing a promotion, right? Inevitably. So she's like, I'm not going to piss off my boss by not supporting her infidelity and her extramarital affair. I mean, this was a different type of friendship. This wasn't like a me and you type of thing.
Yes, I agree. But I just want to say for the audience, that you're lying to yourself and you're lying to your friend's spouse. Like, if you go, like, imagine going to that concert, not in this really messy coworker situation, but just as friends. That's true friendship, when you actually make sure your friend isn't lying to themselves. And what really this is imagine one day we all die. And I believe in God. And it's funny, actually, Judaism, like, we don't believe in hell. We only believe that, like, the good parts of you go to heaven. It's very funny and we different. And we believe everyone goes to heaven. Like, you don't have to be Jewish, so, which is like a whole other topic. But one day you're going to have to answer to God, and imagine the worst moments of your life put on a Jumbotron and you're answering to God. And I think that's why this actually really resonates with people. And also because it was just objectively so funny and so embarrassing. And the way that the way the guy just fell to the floor with the twinkle fingers. So that's my take on it.
And also, another take is that both of these people really like fumbled the bag because one, the CEO is no longer the CEO and he was making bank. So like, who knows what the next chapter of his career looks like? Maybe not so bright. And then the HR manager that was cheating on her husband, apparently her husband is a part of one of the wealthiest families in Boston. And they have like this beautiful little family I saw a photo of. I mean, so bad decisions made all around. I mean, money is not that, listen, you can be poor and cheating is still a horrible thing to do. But I'm just saying,
this was strategically unwise.
Financially unwise. And listen, we are just sitting here with our popcorn ready for more information to come out.
I hope the spouses they cheated on get like smoking hot second spouses after, like next spouses. That's what I hope for them. So prayers to the spouses. Charlie's way better at transitions than I am, but I'm the one talking right now. So we're going to do a just cold 180 into Eric Adams.
Okay, I love it.
I'm so done with Eric Adams, except I'm not allowed to be.
No, you can't be. This is a forced support movement that we are a part of, but it is for all of the best reasons. And I'm okay with being forced into this support movement right now.
I mean, this man just keeps failing up. I don't understand how this guy who only spends his time trying to rub elbows with celebrities at zero bond and like being vegan. I just don't understand how he is like our only last hope for the New York City election. He had this, I don't know, Charlie, if you saw this, there was a very bizarre sighting of a bunch of whales off of New York City this weekend, which in itself is already like, okay, like random sightings like that do happen in New York City. But then, and I have to believe that this was Eric Adams and not a staffer on his team who has access to his Twitter account. Mayor Adams himself quote tweeted a photo of the whales that were spotted off of Brooklyn. And it says, the tweet reads, "Hater, New York is dead. Whale. Don't listen to them, Eric." What? This is the campaign strategy.
First of all, to your point of this is the best New York City has. I mean, aside from Trump, who is a ultra savvy businessman and bringing a completely different air and expertise to Washington, I mean, otherwise, like politicians, most of the time you're like, wait, this is the best we have. I mean, no matter where you are. I like how I just like defended Trump before I like totally just shit on politicians. I felt like I needed to.
We love him. Yes.
I know. But it really just then when you think about the whole campaign in general, because Zoran Mamdani, obviously, I do not support. I think he is clueless. I think he's
dangerous.
He's dangerous. He doesn't have experience. I mean, he's just spouting all of these policies that he's going to enact if he's elected, which are never going to happen. And the ones that he does manage to get done are just going to destroy the city. But when you see Eric Adams interacting with his potential voters, current voters, in the way that he does, and he's just so clueless. And then you see Zoran Mamdani, even though clueless, having the charisma that Eric Adams is lacking, it makes sense why Zoran Mamdani is attracting so many younger voters and so many different types of voters. Because I was watching a video, and we should play it in the podcast. Zoran Mamdani was announcing, because everybody's like, go back to Africa. And he's like, you know what? I am going to go back to Africa. In fact, I'm traveling to Uganda right now to celebrate my and my wife's marriage. Let's take a look at the video.
Zoran, go back to Uganda, where you come from and belong. At Teflon Gone. Loser, go back to Africa. There are thousands like this from across the country. I hear you. And I agree. I'm going back to Uganda. I'm headed there in a personal capacity to celebrate Rama and I's marriage with our family and friends. But I do want to apologize to the haters, because I will be coming back.
And I just think it's funny because he is able to take negative press and publicity and spin it in his favor. Like, obviously, the New York Post is all over Zoran, like, trying to make him, depict him in the worst way possible, because it's too easy not to, right? But he's like, hey, New York Post, I've got some ideas for some headlines for you. How about this? How about that? It's almost like when Eminem in 8 Mile turned the tables on the guy he was battling. Remember in that rap battle? And he took all of the disses that his rap battle opponent could have said about him, and he said them first, so then his opponent had nothing. Zoran Mamdani, I'm not saying I support him, but the man is clever, he's smart, he is running a good campaign, and the other candidates, Eric Adams is specifically who I'm talking to, need to heed notice, because you got to switch things up. What you're doing is not working, clearly, and it's like Kamala Harris in the presidential campaign. Was she a qualified candidate? Absolutely not, but she spoke to a certain sect of voters in a way that they hadn't been spoken to before, and she was trying to, associate with them and, whatever.
I think Mamdani has, I'm not saying he's exactly like Trump. No one is Trump, right? But what he's appealing to in people is actually the same part that Trump appealed to, which is the government doesn't care about you, life hasn't been working, and you want something different, right? Like, I'm very concerned about the midterms and the 28 election, because I think we have a lot of Trump voters, not right-wing voters in this country. I think that's why we won this last election, not because it was an endorsement of conservative values, but a vote against the left and against the deep state and a vote for Trump. And Mamdani is appealing to that same part of people, but just from the other side. So, and the same, we have this populist part of the movement of MAGA, and that really does meet the Marxist end of the left. And that is where the horseshoe meets. So I totally agree with you. And I really don't like when people on the right poo-poo the leftist ideas. And they say, well, obviously it's so ridiculous because they're Marxist and he is not qualified. And those are the people that end up winning because we don't treat them seriously. We don't take them seriously. And that's a huge mistake. And ignore them at our own peril. I totally agree with you.
And then on top of that, we have Andrew Cuomo, who still won't go away. And he's still completely focused on running his campaign, even though, come on, dude, look what happened to you in the primary.
He lost the primary.
Nobody wants you. Step aside. Let us garner more support for Adams, get some more momentum so we can actually stand a fighting chance at beating Zoran Mamdani. But Andrew Cuomo's not. At least not at this point. And in fact, he has said, this was hilarious. He said, if I lose, I'm going to go to Florida. Almost like, oh, you can get rid of me. I'll just leave. I'll go to Florida. How about that? And people are like, no, that's not what we're looking for. But then the best person ever that could have chimed in did. And that was Governor Ron DeSantis saying simply, don't. For once, we finally have found common ground. New Yorkers and Floridians unite. Nobody wants Andrew Cuomo.
I don't know what kind of message he thinks that's sending to people when he's trying to run for New York City mayor and saying, but I'll just leave and go to Florida, which, by the way, is the most New York thing someone could possibly do, which is leave and go to Florida. That's what I did, okay? I am in the 6th borough, okay? This is the satellite borough of New York City. So I understand why he wants to do it, but I don't know why you think that would convince people that you should be there, you should represent New York when you're so willing to abandon it. So that's hilarious. I actually want to jump from that, talking about people abandoning places.
Look at that segue. I knew where you were going exactly.
Thank you so much. I'm learning.
You're welcome.
I'm going to ruin the segue now, though, and say it's like I'm going to be Arynne on TV as Charly on TV. Except today, guys, Charly, just so you know what happens behind the scenes, Charly messaged me before and she said, I'm not wearing any makeup on this. She still looks beautiful, doesn't she? Please,
Thanks,
golf clap for Charly. But she said, I'm channeling my inner Arynne. Oh, my light just went out also. Oops. She said, I'm channeling my inner Arynne. I was like, okay, like looking like shit on the show.
No, au natural.
Au natural and very natural because my light just crapped out on me. But anyways, back to my segue of people leaving places they don't like. Did any of you care to know that Ellen DeGeneres announced that she left the US for the UK and she said, quote, everything is better here?
Something that's not better, because while we're on the subject of liquids, the liquid policy in the UK is outstandingly horrible. Horrible. They make you take everything that is liquid. First of all, you have to be within like the certain ounce limitations. But then it's not even like in the US where you can have your own travel pack, like a toiletry bag. Everything has to go in a Ziploc bag that the airport provides. And if it's not in there and they catch, and I'm talking mascara has to go in there. Like all of the things that wouldn't even necessarily be considered liquids, but technically they are. It is a nightmare. It's a nightmare. It's a nightmare.
So they make you put your mascara in a plastic bag, but they will let in any refugee from any third world nation unscreened.
Correct. The good news for Arynne, I said Arynne DeGeneres. Oh my God. Are you insulted? Ellen DeGeneres, she doesn't wear mascara, so she doesn't have to worry about that.
She definitely doesn't.
Her skincare routine is non-existent. Have you seen the recent photos of her? If life is so good over there, then tell me why you have aged 30 years in 2 years.
And
tell
she's
me.
never even had kids. Like, there's an excuse for women when you've had children. Totally. She doesn't have children of her own. I don't know if she and Portia even adopted, but there is a trend now of washed up lesbians in America who are no longer relevant using Donald Trump to try to regain attention and fame. So it's Ellen DeGeneres and Rosie O'Donnell, the two of them. So Rosie's in Ireland, I believe. Ellen is now in the UK. And if they post a meme, they could go to jail. So that's what they left us for. And I think this was all just a stunt for them to be in the news again. I can't imagine. Like, I didn't remember. Wasn't Ellen canceled years ago because
toxic work environment?
Like, instead of toxic masculinity, it's like toxic lesbianity.
Kind of masculinity. Kind of
masculine.
But like masculine in the worst sense.
Masculine without the best part of men. Okay.
Now, I think this is a good segue. Speaking of, let's transition to our weekly segment about the WNBA.
Yeah, this is becoming a weekly topic, which is against my will. I do have a friend, by the way, a good friend, and she really likes the WNBA because her lesbian nanny got her into it, but she's not a lesbian. But I have one friend.
Okay, well, let's get into it. So the WNBA, in this moment, they're in the middle of collective bargaining agreement negotiations. That's where their contracts can get resorted, where the league has new financial obligations. It's a whole thing. Now, in the midst of them trying to prove a point for All-Star Game, they all decided that it would make sense, and it was a smart business move, to show up to the All-Star Game wearing shirts that said, quote, pay us what you owe us. Here's the thing. The league has never turned a profit since the year it was founded in I think it was 97?
92?
It was in the 90s. It was in the 90s. They're still losing close to $50 million each year. They are subsidized by the NBA. So there's one thing. Yes, the league, to Dave Portnoy's point, because Dave Portnoy is a very smart guy, and I do respect the things he has to say. I do agree. The league is hotter than ever. There's a lot of momentum behind them. A lot more people are paying attention than they used to, and they are making peanuts. It is devastating, the salaries that these women are making. It's embarrassing, in fact, especially when you consider what their male counterparts are making. Now, in no way am I saying they should make anywhere close to the men. I do think their salaries should be raised. I think like making like $70,000 a year is like you can barely afford to support yourself. Are they getting endorsements and other contract deals that they can use to support their lives? Yes, Angel Reese is making shit tons of money. Caitlin Clark, and there's plenty others that aren't making nearly as much, but still making a good amount. But they also are delusional in the sense that where's the money going to come from at this point? Because they're not making money in the league right now.
We all know this, right? And they know this, that if they were paid what they made for the league, they would all owe money. They would all owe almost 3 times their salary. So, and I don't agree with you. They are making above the average income in America. And I know it sounds unlivable in New York City, but the average person in New York City is also earning around $70K, and they might have a skill set, which is basketball, but what is that skill set worth? Apparently, there aren't enough fans. This is just basic supply and demand. I'm a capitalist. I think they owe money, and so they should zip their mouths. And like you said, they could get endorsement deals if they're good, if people want, if there's a celebrity nature to them, but you don't even have to be the best player in the league to get attention. You could get deals just because people like following who you are.
Absolutely.
So I actually think for a lot of them, the WNBA gives them a platform they otherwise wouldn't have. You know what they could also do? They could go play in Europe. They could go play in other leagues and try to get paid more.
Well, we saw what happened when Brittany Griner went to go play in Europe. So
that's not because she went to play in Europe. It's because
because she lacks brain cells.
Yes. Yeah, the biggest trade in WNBA history is for a really, really dangerous arms dealer.
Okay, so yes, I also think that to show up to the WNBA All-Star Game with shirts saying "Pay us what you owe us" also just embodies like the whole persona of the WNBA. Like they're just crybabies. Like
yeah, you know why? Because they're women.
Caitlin Clark, though, apparently, we have been made aware, had nothing to do with the shirts. And in fact, what really, really, really dissuades me from wanting to be a WNBA fan, like, I'll be honest, I don't think the WNBA is fun to watch. I used to call it felt to me like watching women play basketball underwater, and I still stand by that. I'm sorry. I am all about supporting women's sports. I just do not think the WNBA is entertaining at all.
This drama, this is what is entertaining about the WNBA.
Also, absolutely. And I mean, to that end, they should keep it up. But also, like, the hate on Caitlin Clark is just so completely old. Kelsey Plum, she's a pretty big name in the WNBA. She had this to say after the All-Star game as it pertained to the "Pay us what you owe us" shirts.
The t-shirt, just United Front, was determined this morning that we had a meeting for. And, not to tattletale, but 0 members of Team Clark were very present for that. But no, we were just... We had a very...
that really needed to be mentioned.
So basically, she comes right out and says, yeah, we all decided this morning to wear the shirts, but nobody from Team Caitlin Clark had anything to do with it. Why in the world? Is that something you would ever bring up? Tell me what the purpose of calling out Caitlin Clark in that moment was. I'll tell you what the purpose was. She knew if she dropped Caitlin Clark's name, that would become a viral moment. She knew she would start making headlines. If she didn't, no one would have gave a shit who came up with the shirt, when they came up with the shirt. But she knew the second she dropped Caitlin Clark's name in that presser, all of a sudden, that was going to be picked up by all of the news outlets. It was going to be circulated on social media. And that is the whole point here. That is why everybody hates on Caitlin Clark. They have, honestly, I feel like they've, created this, maybe, I don't know, maybe they actually hate her, or maybe they're just doing it for clicks. But that's the reason they foul her. The reason that they treat her like shit is because they know if they do, they're only going to elevate their own brand, but for all of the worst reasons. It's really sickening.
It was so catty, and it's like no one asked. It's not like a reporter
Nobody
had
asked. Nobody asked.
Did Caitlin Clark, was she part of the decision? And I love how if you look at her body language experts would have a lot to say about it, because her side smile of no one from Team Clark had anything to do with it. Just shoving her in front of the bus for absolutely no. I mean, Caitlin Clark is actually living in prison conditions. And the whole thing was so petty. There is something kind of petty that Trump did also over the weekend, but a kind of petty that we all like. Unlike the WNBA, did you see Trump's comments, his truth about the Redskins
Yes.
and the Washington Commanders Stadium? I thought this was so good. He wrote, I may put a restriction on them that if they don't change the name back to the original Washington Redskins and get rid of the ridiculous moniker Washington Commanders, I won't make a deal for them to build a stadium in Washington. The team would be much more valuable and the deal would be much more exciting for everyone. Here's the thing. He's right. Keeping our shoes on at the airport. We're not tossing out our nice skincare. And the Redskins are coming back. They're coming back.
I do not think they're going to come back, but I love this sentiment. I love the sentiment because I also think that never should have been changed. And I think Washington Commanders is lame. Redskins is like, okay, so first of all, there was all these people petitioning, like, get rid of it. It's racist and this and backwards and And then you had, after they changed it, a big group being like, no, we want it back. I'm like, y'all.
But you know who was petitioning? Like white women. Were Native Americans upset? I don't think so.
There was the Native Americans, that's who's rallying behind. In fact, when I was doing my Outkick show still, I had one of the family members of the guy who was like at the head of the tribe back in the day. And he's like, we're trying to petition to bring back the name. And it's too late. And it's the same thing. He wasn't just mentioning the Washington Redskins changing their name back. He also said about the Cleveland Indians, because now they're called what are they called now? Literally don't know. What are they even called now? They're called something else.
I've never switched over to the new name.
They're called something else. They're not called the Cleveland Indians because apparently that was racist also. Okay, that's how little I pay attention to baseball, but also just like they're always going to be the Cleveland Indians to me. But he said, make Indians great again. Miga.
I love them. But you know what it reminds me of? Do you remember during COVID when they started getting rid of all the minorities from the different grocery items? So like Land O'Lakes,
Aunt Jemima.
the butter, and the Aunt Jemima. So there are no
Mrs.
black people.
Butterworth.
There are no black people represented on syrup, which I think is really messed up because black people also use syrup on their pancakes. So pretty messed up there.
And also like, why would you ever want to get rid of Mrs. Butterworth? Like, I used Mrs. Butterworth's growing up as a kid. Never did I look at the bottle and I'm like, aha, I'm pouring a black person on my pancakes. Like, no, I loved Mrs. Butterworth. I still love her, but like,
Yeah, there was a warm affiliation.
No, seriously, it was like the
her.
woman on your counter.
Yes. And remember the Land O'Lakes Native American, and they got rid of the Native American and just kept the land, which you would argue is exactly not what they should have been doing on the cover of the butter.
Opposite.
It's literally the opposite. You should have kept the Native American. And for what? So this was just from, again, one of the dumbest times in our nation's history.
When you look back, though, it's going to be funny. When kids go to study history, specifically American politics, I mean, actually international politics, really. I mean, we just talked about the UK and the tremendous mess they're in. When kids down the road, like I don't know how many generations need to pass, but when the history books are rewritten, but what are we talking about books? There's going to be no books that are written when the internet's updated, which is constantly. So just void out everything I just said. I'm like a boomer.
I think you're trying to say?
You
are a boomer. By the way, guys, I'm the strongest person that I know. If you understood what I had to do on the tech end for our show, because Miss Charly here doesn't. It's fine. She's learning, and we're really proud. And she's really moving up.
I want to say I'm sorry to my mother for ever being frustrated with you when I was teaching you how to set up your iPhone. But no, I'm just saying when kids go back to evaluate, I mean, it's just the teacher. I hope that the teacher has a great sense of humor when teaching American history down the line, because there are so many comedic moments that I don't want to be omitted. Like, I want them to be like, kids, there was one point in time when one of the biggest moments in a presidential campaign was when Donald Trump worked the drive-thru at a McDonald's. Like, I need it all to be included. Like, let's not leave anything out. Like, these are special moments. that need to be passed on to future generations.
You know, I get very nostalgic now. You know, there was that great line at the end of The Office, which is one of the greatest TV series of all time, the American version. And Andy Bernard says, I wish you knew when you were when you were in the good old days before you already left them. And I know it's not to be bittersweet at the end of this, and we'll end on a funny note, but I feel that a lot these days. Trump does these things that are so iconic, and I just feel like I'm living in the good old days, and I know that I'm in them. And I just think we should savor it because it's not going to be like this forever. And I think in the next few years, we're going to go back to pretty normal politics, and we'll have good people and bad people, but there's just something so irreplaceable about Trump and the way he does everything. And so like McDonald's, whatever it is, like the way he talks about Rosie
I'm loving
O'Donnell
it.
or whoever. I love it. The man is
I'm loving it.
hilarious. And we live in
Yeah.
both the dumbest but also the greatest of times. And yeah, I think just have a sense of humor about it. That's how we get through everything.
I hope everybody has savored these moments with us. Almost 50 minutes of them. It's been a joy, Arynne.
Yes, it has. And I posted on my story yesterday, and this is where we'll round out. I posted, is this a joke to you? And unfortunately, everything is a joke to me.
As it should be. That's how you're going to keep your sanity. Keep your wits about you, my dear.
Yes.
And all of you out there.
Words of wisdom from us. We're sorry to get sentimental at the end, but I really do feel that with Trump. So thank you all for listening. Hope you had as much fun as we did because I have too much fun making these.
Thanks for coming to the club.
Yes, thanks for joining Members Club, and we'll see you next week.
Bye.